Do too many cooks really spoil the broth? 1 large onion, sliced, wait, no, halved. A carrot, 2 to 3 red chilies, seated, I think. You, dear members of the audience, do like spice, right? No? This is awkward. 1 large garlic clove, finely grated. 2 bay leaves, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, and since you can't have chicken broth without chicken, 1 meaty piece, plus the jellified roasting juices from it. Some of you don't like chicken. Well, this is my grandma's recipe. It's over 100 years old, and I'd hate to modify it. I'm sure you can pick out the chicken bits, right? Plus, you know what they say. Too many cooks really spoil the broth. Let's be extreme here. If you had to eat broth for every single meal for the remainder of your life, would you feel comfortable if someone else made it? Someone that hasn't even talked to you, and if they had, they didn't listen to your preferred veggies. As a picky eater myself, I'm sure most of you would not be okay with this agreement. Yet it does make me wonder if we all, ladies and gentlemen, won't let it slide with something as simple as broth. Why should we with politics? In the 2021 Chilean presidential election, according to data from the Servicio Electoral, 56.65% of eligible voters did not cast a valid vote. We are talking about over 8,456,000 citizens who just couldn't be bothered to vote or to involve themselves in the politics of our country. Must I remind you, these elected politicians are single-handedly responsible for the majority of social, economic, political, and international affairs of our countries. It's no longer just about soup. In today's globalized world, nations are not isolated entities, but are interconnected by trade, culture, technology, and more. These relationships are vital to collective prosperity, stability, and peace. They shape our lives. They determine the future of our planet, yet these crucial relationships are left in the hands of the people we would not want close to our food. Relations between nations are more than just economy and politics. They're about people, values, and cultures, which are the foundation of our identity as individuals and as a society. They shape the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate with each other. And therefore, these relationships, these broths, should be made from the people, for the people. That is why it is imperative that we all take responsibility for these relations. We must engage with each other, build bridges, and promote mutual understanding. We must go beyond borders and cultural barriers to find common ground. We must take the first step of this recipe, which will always be to get involved in our country's politics and improve the state of our government and the decisions they make to consequently better the relations they establish. As Barack Obama once said, when a government is spoken of as a menacing, threatening, foreign entity, it ignores the fact that in our democracy, the government is us. So we must be proactive in our efforts to create a world where nations can work together to solve common problems. Take climate change. The Paris Agreement, for example, is an ongoing treaty that aims to limit global warming and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Countries set their own climate targets, and wealthy nations support poorer nations in their transition to low-carbon economies. Yet, this couldn't have been possible if in those countries we had elected a president that didn't believe in climate change, for example. It does say on my paper that the USA seems to have exited this agreement in 2017. I wonder who was elected beforehand. There is so much to be done, but the commitments to working as a society towards a sustainable future is unwavering. And though sometimes the final broth may not completely please you, but if you're involved in cooking it, it'll be easier to digest. Instead of not liking the whole broth, you might just not like the carrots and the chilies that the majority agreed to add. Then again, the more ingredients you can name from our broth, the better. By taking responsibility for relations between nations, we are taking responsibility for the future of this world. Your opinion, your voice do matter. It matters because it's our right to have a say in the decisions that will affect our lives. It matters because our voices can collectively create change. It matters because we must get actively involved in politics. So get in the kitchen, put on those aprons, and start cooking. Because the more the cooks, the fairer the broth. Thank you.
So it looks like you advocate the dictatorship of...
If it's a good cook, then maybe.
Clearly fascinating opening, and I think you ran it very well.
Thank you.
Do you cook?
Well, this is probably a sensible topic in my household. Please don't look at my mom that's recording in the, she normally does the cooking, but I do love baking. So I make some mean lemon cake. If you ever want some, just ask me. Thank you.
In your speech, which I just...
No worries.
But people that are listening on Zoom, push the button by your microphone, then they'll be able to hear what you say.
Technology is good until it doesn't work.
I wasn't aware that this is what the microphones are for.
I just remembered when Philip said that. But from now on, just push the button when you speak.
Well, just to update the people in the Zoom, I was just asked if I did cook, and I said that I bake. That was the update of that. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you for here.
You've mentioned a good combination of cooking and politics and environmental issues. What ingredients do you think we need to make Chile a better place?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, as most of you know, Chile is going through a constitutional process where we are, it has been decided that the constitution needs an update. The thing is, the ingredients here can vary a lot. But the point of my speech is that these ingredients should be picked by all of us. And of course, people, as I mentioned, in Chile specifically, but around the world, don't believe politics directly affect them. And what I'm trying to tell you here, it does. Even though most of people here can believe, well, I won't go vote tomorrow because whoever gets sick, I'll still have to work 9 to 5. My life will not change. But politics directly affect our lives. So as soon as we realize and as soon as we make that change and start looking into the possible, presidents or the parliament or the senators, and we start informing ourselves, we can choose our ingredients better. And therefore, the final broth will be fair for all of us in this room. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech.
Thank you.
I want to know if you can share 1 or 2 ideas of how do you think, what can we do for people your age to get more involved in politics? Okay,
so that's also a very good question. For you guys to know, I am currently 17, which means I can't legally vote. But what I can do is speak about politics. So spaces like this, as the ESU has offered us, are astonishingly important. Because politics are sort of a taboo topic and a controversial topic to speak in the household. What it is important for us to do is to start talking about that, and spaces like this permits that. Not only that, but we, as our previous speakers said, we are active users of social media, which means we can decide with 1 button if we share some information, if we don't, if we like a post, if we don't, again. What we need to make sure is the things that we are sharing are actually useful and that we don't spread fake news, for example. So I'd say for people my age, start speaking about politics, start doubting yourselves, and don't spread misinformation because it is actually very harmful. Thank you.